I've come across Carmen a lot. I think it's quite an iconic piece. I was always drawn to it as a woman and a story that's about a woman, but I think a lot of the times when I've seen it, she doesn't feel like the protagonist of her own story. Yeah, if that becomes almost a kiss moment, and then she can sort of, do you know what I mean? And she's like, no, let's keep moving.
In every other incantation of Carmen, she's a victim. And it's not woman-centric. It's not really what the story should be. In Arielle's Carmen, she creates her identity, and I think that's huge.
So our version takes place now, really. It takes place in Cuba. I think she's probably placed slightly older than she has been in previous versions. She's experienced a lot of life, and it's about her coming back to her roots. I see our Carmen as someone that is really desperately searching for passion and desire in her life. Her mother has passed, and with that she's come back to the family business, which is a restaurant, and her father, Gilberto, is there. Past swirling away into present day. She is married since she's left, so she comes back with her new husband, Jose, who has not met any of her family out there. What I think is put on a lot of women all the time is that you need to be strong and you need to be... So she kind of puts up a front, but actually she's got a lot that she hasn't chipped into about herself and hasn't explored about herself. As the piece develops, it's about her, in a very simple way, putting back together this restaurant, this family business that has lost its way since the passing of her mother. This is very love triangle, it's very good. Good. Now, keep the energy here. Along the way, she falls in love with a chef, Escamillo, who in our version is a woman, and that's something she's never experienced before. Nice, Jen. This Escamillo, she's one of these people that makes big impact in people's lives, but actually kind of doesn't realise. It's not this kind of bravado thing, it's very much that she is just magnetic. Great, that was great. There's this person that has unlocked a passion and love that she unfortunately doesn't have with her husband. It's almost the point of no return. The way I like to think about it, and the audience doesn't need to really know this, but actually Carmen's mother, the way I see her, is it's closer to the version of Carmen story that we know. And I think Gilberto, when he starts to see the cracks form between his daughter Carmen and her partner Jose's relationship, he starts to maybe see history repeat itself. It's a piece about people and about love, hate, passion, and what happens when people are in a really small environment under really intense, you know, they're trying to reopen this place in 2 weeks and it's really on its knees.
In our retelling of Carmen, it says you don't need to be defined by another human being, which I think is a universal need to understand. You do not have to be defined by your partner or by a group or by a setting. You define yourself, and to me that makes Carmen, our Carmen, a hero.
It's an opportunity to talk about a woman that's not perfect, and she doesn't need to be perfect, but she also doesn't need to be a victim of her own story. Can it feel like she really actually like throws him? Do you know what I mean? Like she's small but mighty.
Okay.
And that really throws, yeah.
I am mighty.
Small but mighty. Even though I spent a majority of my life in the UK, I've always felt really in touch with my Cuban side and the Cuban half of me. Carmen a lot of the time is set in Spain. I thought, well, why don't we do a Cuban Carmen? We've got really iconic, great versions of Carmen, and it felt that we needed to really shift it to somewhere else for it to own its place, to have this version of it.
Here we go. Vamos.
Cuba's such an interesting and beautiful place because it really represents a nexus of Europe, Africa, and the New World, the indigenous world. There's so many things happening in Cuba, and places like this are natural power centers for culture. And it's central both to Arielle's identity and to mine because we were both of Cuban heritage.
Musically, we're working with an entirely new school. We reference Bizet in the piece, but we felt that we couldn't tell this version of the story with the current school we all knew.
We're going to have a percussionist on stage playing bata and conga, another percussionist playing shekere, bongo, and bell, and we're going to have a tresero, which is a Cuban guitar. If you go to Havana, walking down the streets, every single bar, every single cafe has a little band, a little conjunto. So it's just such a part of the fabric of everyday life. And since the setting for this Carmen is a bar, restaurant, it's important to have that original touch because it's part of the picture. It's part of the thread. It's a societal thread.
Okay, should we carry on? Bish, bash, bosh.
I think because it's called Carmen, people will come expecting, you know, fans and, you know, all of that. And I hope that they come out thinking, oh my goodness, that was almost an entirely new thing.
What this Carmen teaches us is that it's complicated when you are on your own journey. It's complicated when you're not defined easily by others. But it's the most liberating and wonderful thing a human being can have.
The very basic theme that I think is powerful is it's a piece about a woman. I think that's what we've tried to elevate more in this story, that it's her story. And that, for me, on the very basic level, was my job, was to make this piece Carmen's story. Otherwise, we shouldn't call it Carmen.